What's up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment, and I just wanted to go into yesterday's games. The NBA games is mostly what we went with, and we did play a football game. Of course, the football game was the one that didn't go our way. Like I said, NBA we've just been really doing great with, so I've been trying to do more of that. But yeah, this was an odd one. I have noticed, and I wasn't sure because going into it, they only talked about it a couple times. But I have noticed now with these records, if somebody's going for a big record, if you hear them talking about it throughout the game, it usually doesn't happen. It happened when Russell was going for a comeback. It happened when Tom Brady was coming for a comeback. Then they didn't mention Matt Ryan was about to tie Breeze for all-time comebacks, and he did. And now they were talking all game about how Belichick was going for the record, and he did not get it. So I expect him to get it on like a 1 o'clock game that isn't getting a lot of coverage in the near future. I don't think it is going to be one that they're talking about. And they have a bye week this week, it looks like. Oh, no, they got the Jets. Okay. That could be an interesting one right there. His first team the team he tied the record on was the Browns. The first team he coached with. So it'd be interesting for him to beat the Jets, his other team, to take the record. Now, I wanted to go into the NBA games, and we had a good day. Like I said, the metric for the Sixers stood strong. They are now not winless against the spread. They had a decisive win against a crappy team. Raptors Heat, I wound up going last minute. I went with the Heat simply because the same reason I went with the Sixers. And I think they do get that on track. They're now 0-4 or something against the spread. That just doesn't hold. But yeah, that was one where I thought about even money, but I thought it made more sense for the Heat to win. This one, like I said before, the Knicks are being pushed. And they're pushing Paolo. They're trying to make it seem like this guy's golden, and every time he gets touched, they're calling fouls. But the Knicks are being pushed as a team. You're not just seeing one or two guys. You're seeing Reddish. You're seeing Brunson. You're seeing Barrett. They're all having good games. Randall had a good game. Robinson had a really good game on defense. So they're pushing multiple players on this Knicks roster, again, to prove that they're a feisty play-in team. That's the narrative around them. The Bulls, as I said, I slightly leaned to them if I had to choose, simply because I didn't think they were going to do them, starting them off 1-3. And I think this win against Boston lets people know, again, that Chicago is going to be a team not to sleep on. Of course, they're not going to do anything, but they have to keep people thinking that their teams have a chance. This one is the most revealing, in my opinion, because, like I said, everybody is going to have taken the Jazz in this game. Because I bet one of them, but they played the Pelicans, Jazz, and T-Wolves, and they beat them all. Okay, so I don't think anybody thought the Rockets were going to have a chance. So that's the reason we took the Rockets. Of course, they want to show off their young guys, like I had said, and at the same time, they want to trap people, and they did with that Jazz game. Now, speaking of traps, I thought this was a trap. Again, it's probably more one where we just gone with the narrative of the Nets are being shown to be a team that sucks, whereas the Memphis Grizzlies are a cohesive unit. I probably would have done better. It just seemed like such a trap. Maybe some people in the public still consider the Nets good, and that's why they're 1 point. They were even in this game. They had an even or a 1 point game, basically. Same with the Lakers games. Maybe the public is still not awake to the fact that these Nets and Lakers are being presented like clowns. So they might get a lot of public action no matter what. So that could be the reason that line was even. And then the other one we covered here, and this one's the most saddening because I literally put out an entire video. I mean, it wasn't that long, but it was my second video ever, literally going over why the Blazers were going to run through the West this year. Just all the different factors, the money behind the team, the fact that they always have been a good team and a marketable team. The Dame time thing has basically began. They're starting the Dame time like they did with Steph saying Steph saying how he's the cook. Dame time's the new catchphrase. And I mean, just look at these guys. You have players these guys remind me of the Warriors. You have Lillard, Hart, and Simmons who can run the 3-guard combo. Then you got Grant, who can just step in and play great two-way basketball. On paper or rigged, this is a great team. Shadon Sharp, I think, is going to set the league on fire. I remember doing a video on him, and a lot of Blazers fans told me I was nuts and he wasn't going to get off the bench. So this is what I mean. This stuff isn't an accident. They were talking about Sharp the whole game. Like, where did this kid come from? You know, he didn't play a snap in college, all this crap. He didn't play a play in college. And I'm like, how do I know more about Shadon Sharp than these stupid analysts? And that's what annoys me. They're all actors, but it's easy to find out where they're trying to set things up. So yes, the Blazers, I did go with the Broncos because I thought the Nuggets, because I thought it was a clear trap. The Blazers should have been heavy favorites, not 5-point underdogs. So the commonality of our two losses with this and the Nets was I went with traps over narrative. So something to keep in mind. But I'm not saying they're going to fucking go 82-0. But at the beginning of the year, and then I've also made a few since, I did take the Blazers to win the division, to win the West, to have over 39 games, just because I think they are presenting this team as a very strong all-around team. So that being said, we didn't get that one, but we have tomorrow's games to look forward to. Now, tomorrow I looked at, and the one that jumps out right off the bat is Mavericks Pelicans. And I don't know the spread yet. I'm guessing it's going to be a pretty close spread. And I'll be honest, I like the Mavericks in this game. I've noticed something in the NBA, and it seems to be rookies paying their dues. Magic playing the Knicks is a good example. Paolo got his, but he didn't win the game against the team that was more seasoned, and the guys like Jay Brunson and Barrett and Derrick Rose and all those players. The Knicks are the more seasoned team, so they weren't just going to put over Orlando. In this case, I don't think the Pelicans are just going to beat Luka. I do think they're going to have a good game. It's like Luka versus Golden State in the playoffs. It's the same principle. So I think they're going to have a good game. They want to present the Pelicans as a good team. But that being said, Dallas is being presented as a championship team this year. So I do believe Dallas wins this game. I'm guessing the spread's going to be something like a 2 or 3 point spread. If it's much off than that, then it might be a trap. But I do like Dallas in this away game. I think they win it, and they basically show how there's Pelicans good and then there's Luka good. Not that the Pelicans won't make a deep run. They're extremely good, and they're pushing Zion hard, and I expect him to do well. It's just the Mavericks, I don't think they start them off 1-2. I know it's early in the season, but the fact that a lot of public money, public cash is going to be on the Pelicans, and the fact that, again, they're pushing Luka to the moon, just like they are Ja. And the Mavericks don't just have Luka, they have a bunch of players. I do like the Mavericks in this game. Obviously, I have to wait up for the lines to open before I pick it. This game is an interesting one. Early in the season, I think they really focus on the home crowds. It makes sense. So I'm going to have to look at the line on this one. But it's another one where I think Washington is going to be better than people think this year. I think having Porzingis, Beal, the way they're talking about the team, the way the team is talking about themselves, you can tell the teams that are faking, trying to, like, oh yeah, we're going to really try, and ones that do believe they're going to make it. Okay, and we do have a spread here. It's 5 points. I like Washington on the money line. I will probably wind up doing a parlay just because 5 points might not sound like too much, but they also want Ivy to look good, and they want the Pistons to look decent this year. So I would probably take the Wizards and do a money line on that game, and I would money line it with the Clippers, both just money lines. For the reason being, I don't love this spread on the Clippers game. These kind of spreads can often be manipulated by live action, and while at first I kind of like the Thunder because I feel like they're due to cover a spread. Let me see if they covered one yet. If not, we'll go with the Thunder straight up to cover that spread, because that's a metric that is very proven, believe it or not, is teams just don't continuously win or lose against the spread. It doesn't happen, no matter how good or bad they are. So the Thunder actually have covered 2 spreads this year, the 2-1 on the spread. The teams that haven't, you can see, are the Lakers and the Heat. So this one, yeah, I would stick to the money line And I would also parlay it so we have the money line on the Thunder and the Wizards. I think that's a good combination. And I think taking the spread, I'm at the money line on the Clippers. Money line on the Clippers and the Wizards. The Thunder have already been designated as a trash team. The only exciting guy they got, who weighs less than Curry, by the way, at the center position, is injured for the year. Nothing's happening with them. They're not. They might have a few spoils, but this isn't going to be one of them, as they're trying to establish the Clippers as a top team. Again, in my video, I believed that it was going to be the Blazers and Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. Now, here's another one. Again, in my opinion, this is an example of Chris Paul being Chris Paul and Devin Booker being Devin Booker. A game that these guys should lose, in my opinion, because they're not that good of a team. They lost in Portland, and then I had picked them to beat who did they just beat? The Lakers or something? I had them beating them because it was such a trap. Oh, the Mavericks. Yeah. Oh, no, they beat the Mavericks. Okay, it was the Clippers. Yeah, I had them beating the Clippers because it was an obvious trap, which is another reason the Clippers are going to come back and win, probably pretty strong. But the Suns, now a bunch of people are going to be fading them, taking the Warriors, simply because they still don't think that they're a strong team. People don't have Phoenix as a top team. They saw the playoffs last year. That left a strong impression in people's memory, and one win over the Clippers is not going to erase that. So in my opinion, this is one that Phoenix wins handedly, because there's going to be a lot of money on Golden State just because they are Golden State. And like I said, they've been presented as the odds-on favorites this year. And I think it's so stuff like this can happen so the Suns can actually get a win. Now, what's also interesting is they kept talking about how this would have been the ideal matchup in the playoffs. They really wanted this, but Luka spoiled it by beating the Suns. So I think they make the Suns look strong and prove they would have, quote, beat the Warriors, and we might have had a different result if the Suns had won. Now, again, I don't think either of these teams are going to represent the West, but they're good red herring teams. And having the Warriors win is obvious. We already know the Warriors are capable. Most people have already ruled out the Suns as a possible team. So I expect guys like Cameron Payne to step up, have good games. Paul, of course, is going to play like a freaking wizard, only to play like complete crap when he plays next. But that's fine. So I like the Suns. I'd probably buy it to about 1.5 or something like that. Or wait, maybe. Hopefully it drops a point. This might be a close one. I'm not saying it will be. But there's a good chance it's going to be just a few points deciding the game. So I would like to get it as close to even as possible. Notice Curry's got 33.3 on the year. Interesting. But I can't really pick yet because some of my book only is showing 2 games, and of those games I can't even pick spreads on some of them. But just to run over everything, I like the Wizards in combination with the Clippers. I like them both on the money line. I like the Mavericks. I'm gonna like them to cover the spread most likely, but we'll see what the spread is. I think it's going to be between 2.5 and 3.5 points. That's just what I believe, and I would like the Mavericks in that case. And I like the Suns with that same spread, that 2.5 points, but I'm going to buy them down a little bit. So those are my picks. Nothing crazy. I wanted to do basically a narrative of all the teams that I'm going to. Just bear in mind there's 30, and I'm trying to also get picks out. But we're looking good. I mean, we are doing exceptional with NBA this year. As you can see, we've been just killing our sequences. This sequence 12, it's a shame because we only lost it because I decided to put football in with it. It's like we can't go wrong with basketball. We did miss a few, obviously. Oh yeah, and here is sequence 14. Since the Sixers had won early on, you can do this too, and I know a lot of people on my Discord do it. Once it was around halftime, and I was getting bad vibes about the Blazers, I went ahead and hedged it, so no matter what, I was going to make a profit because the Blazers were favorites at that point. The Nuggets were favorites and they were up 6. So I was able to hedge it with the Blazers and make about $10 off this sequence. So that's the other thing I like about the system, and doing some parlays every once in a while, you can hedge a lot better. We got our Rockets. Heat was close, we didn't get that one. and then we got the Sixers. So we have 2 second legs, the Heat, and we have the Nets Grizzlies. I most like the Suns for the second leg. I just think the Suns, again, I think more public money is going to be on the Warriors in Phoenix or not. And they like to present the Suns as this feisty team who, again, they always win they beat the best teams, but then they'll lose to average teams. I've seen them do it for years. Chris Paul, I've seen him do it since he was beating the Spurs and then turning around and losing to the Pacers. I watched him do it for years on the New Orleans Hornets. He's doing the same thing here. He's going to look like a magician. The Suns are going to look good tonight, and they're going to win. So, yep, that's basically all I got. There's no NFL, obviously, and baseball's not till like Thursday, Friday. Not even sure what we're doing there. But I will do an in-depth breakdown of every team. You already know my feeling on the West, really. The Blazers, Clippers are the 2 I think are going. The teams being pushed, I think the Knicks are being pushed in the East where they might get maybe past the first round of the playoffs. Maybe they knock off a team like Boston. You never know. I think the Grizzlies are definitely being pushed. And we know what's coming out of the Nets and the Lakers. Now, the Sixers are a similar story. I think the blame with the Sixers is going to fall on Doc, whereas the blame with the other teams is going to fall on Westbrook and Kyrie. So that's just what I see so far. Jazz Rockets, perfect example of just picking a trap game. I don't see any of them tomorrow where it's an obvious trap like this, but we do have a good bit on the 26th. But I just wanted to go over why I picked a lot of these teams and why I believe they won. We were really only off the target with a few. And like I said, the Nets, I should have just stuck with my WWE logic and just figured they're going to make the Nets look like clowns. But I did not like that line. Them basically being favorites did not make sense to me. But again, I think now I understand the Joe Public is picking Nets just because they see who's on the lineup. Same thing with the Lakers. So knowing that's going to help a lot as well, because these traps that I thought were traps, maybe that wasn't a trap. Maybe there was a lot of public money on Brooklyn, and I just thought there shouldn't have been. So we're moving forward. We're going to use more of the logic, like obviously the Knicks game, where there's obviously teams that are not going to lose certain games at home when they're trying to push them as a playoff team, and it's easy to bet traps. Like I said, there's always going to be traps, but we want to use metrics and things like that too. And I'm just annoyed at myself because, again, I'm the one who told everybody the Blazers were on a run through the West. So this one's annoying. Even though it's only a first leg, we'll make it back tomorrow. It's just one that I really should have thought about longer, and I probably would have decided to go with the Blazers, even if it was out of bias. But, we're not going to win them all. I think we're like 15-5 now or something on the NBA. We're doing really good. I haven't updated it yet. And we're still doing good on football. I have some nice games for the weekend, college. I just think these NBA games are just so obvious when they are trying to put over someone. Again, the Dame time was starting at the beginning of this game when they were losing bad. They were basically saying they're coming back and winning. So you look at this team, you look at everything around them, they're going to be a good team this year. And we'll go more into them and I'll go into all teams, all 16, or I guess it's 18 now, that make the playoffs, who I think is going to, who I think is going to fall off. And most importantly, which teams that made it last year are going to be swapped out. For example, I think the Jazz are swapped out with the Blazers. I think on the East, you could very well see a team like the Sixers swapped out with the Knicks. So it'll be interesting. We're going to go into all that. I just wanted to get all my picks out. There's only 4 games, so you have them all. And for hockey, I did go with it. It's a metric I like. I did it because I figured I'd start doing hockey. Yesterday, I was able to get the Senators on a nice 2-1 money line, or 2-1 spread line. And the Sabres here have yet to lose against the spread. It doesn't show it here, but they are undefeated against the spread. So what I did was I went ahead and took the Kraken minus 1.5. And that's going to pay 2-1. So I do like the Kraken minus 1.5 here for odds purposes because, again, there's only one NHL team who has yet to lose against the spread. Last night, the Senators knocked off the Stars, who were the other one. So I think that happens tonight. The last one gets knocked off. You don't have teams just run the spread. It just doesn't happen, even in hockey. So that's everything. I'm sorry if I went over a few things a couple times. I just know there's times I'll do basketball games and then decide later there's another one I like. So here we literally went into every game. See, it's on my book. It's only letting me play 2. But as I said, I like the Suns, so we might as well just pick them now. And again, the reason I'm going to do a first bet is because we don't know what's going to happen with the earlier games. So depending on how they go, we can always add to this game or do what we need to. So I just took the original -2.5. I might add some more and do a lower line just because I think there's a good chance it's a close game. But you never want to buy points every game because it'll quickly add up to an entire unit just buying points a couple times. So those are who I like. My analysis on yesterday's games, I think, basically went according to schedule. The Nets was the only one that I was a little thrown off from, but not too much just because of the way they've been presented. So I think tomorrow is another good day. Basketball is just going to, good thing it's every single day. We're going to make some money doing basketball. I got people telling me already, gosh, I'm up double in 2 nights. And it's just because we can pick so many games and we can also limit it, pick ones that we like more and not just pick every one. I picked every one tonight because I do think they're good games. 2 of them involve money lines, which only leaves 2. So on games where we got 15 games, we can't pick them all, but we can limit it down and pick the best ones like we did last night and like we've been doing. So take care, everybody, and happy earnings.